The twin suns of Xylar burned red above the ancient alien arena. The air shimmered with heat, and the sound of drums echoed like thunder. Thousands of aliens filled the stands, their scales flashing in the light, their voices merging into a single cruel roar. They came to see blood. Human blood. Inside the iron gates below, a man waited, barehanded, shirt torn, face bruised but calm. His name was Ethan Cole, the last human captured from the ruins of a destroyed colony. Around him, alien guards laughed, their armor shining, their claws ready to drag his body away once the show ended. But Ethan didn't move. His eyes stayed fixed on the sunlight spilling into the arena. He could smell dust, metal, and death. He knew the aliens thought this was entertainment, a joke, a sport. To them, humans were weak toys to be crushed for fun. But Ethan was different. Inside him burned something even he didn't fully understand. A quiet fire that refused to die. The heavy gate opened with a loud hiss. A voice shouted from above, booming through metal speakers. "Behold the human creature. No weapon, no armor, just soft flesh. Let the battle begin." The crowd screamed with laughter. From the other side of the arena, 2 alien soldiers entered. Tall and armored, holding curved blades glowing red with heat. Their fangs dripped with venom. Ethan stepped forward, his feet bare on the burning sand. His heartbeat was slow. He whispered under his breath, almost to himself, "Let's end this." The first alien rushed like lightning, swinging his sword toward Ethan's head. The human ducked just an inch lower, and the blade cut through air. Ethan's hand shot forward like a viper, hitting the alien's throat. The sound was wet and sharp. The soldier dropped instantly, choking. The arena fell silent for a moment. Then the second alien screamed and charged. He was faster, smarter. He slashed again and again, but Ethan dodged every move, his body flowing like water. When the alien raised his arm for the final strike, Ethan stepped in and punched once, hard into the chest. The metal armor cracked. The alien froze, eyes wide before falling backward into the dust. The silence returned, heavier this time. No one moved. Even the wind seemed afraid. Up on the royal balcony, sitting behind a crystal screen, the alien princess Lyra watched. Her skin shimmered like silver glass, and her eyes glowed bright gold. She had seen thousands of fights before, but never like this. A human, barehanded, one had defeated 2 trained warriors in less than a minute. She leaned forward, her lips parting slightly. There was no fear in her gaze, only deep curiosity. Around her, alien nobles whispered angrily, "This is impossible. He cheated somehow. No human can fight like that." But Lyra only whispered to herself softly, like a secret meant for no one to hear, "That one belongs to me." Down below, Ethan stood in the middle of the arena, chest rising and falling slowly. His hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from the rush of the fight. He knew what came next. More enemies, more death. But for a moment, something strange happened. The roaring crowd faded from his mind. His eyes met the balcony, and for a split second, he saw her, the princess, watching him with a look that wasn't hatred. It was something else. Curiosity. Respect. Maybe even something more dangerous. Interest. The voice from the speakers broke the silence again. "The human lives in now. Bring in the next challenger." The gates began to open again. Ethan took a deep breath, rolling his shoulders. His arms were bleeding, his ribs hurt, but he smiled, just a little. "Let's see what you've got next," he whispered. Above him, Lyra stood from her seat. Her guards tried to stop her, but she raised a hand. "Enough," she said coldly. "The next challenger will wait." Her voice carried across the arena, silencing thousands instantly. The Emperor himself turned to her, shocked. "You would stop the games? For this creature?" Lyra's eyes never left Ethan. "Yes," she said. "For this one?" Ethan frowned, confused. He didn't know what she was doing or why she was protecting him. All he knew was that the crowd's hatred turned to whispers now. Fear mixed with curiosity. The guards surrounded him, their weapons ready, waiting for orders. The princess lifted her hand once more. "Take him," she said softly, "to my chambers." Gasps rippled through the arena. No human had ever been taken to a royal's private hall. Not as a slave, not as a guest, not as anything. Ethan's jaw tightened as the guards grabbed him. His thoughts were spinning, but one thing was clear. Whatever was happening, his story was far from over. As they dragged him away through the gates, he looked back one last time at the arena. The place that was meant to kill him but had instead awakened something terrifying in everyone watching. For the first time, the aliens saw not prey, but a predator. And for the first time, the princess saw not an animal, but a man. The metal doors closed behind Ethan with a deep, echoing sound. For the first time since the arena, silence surrounded him, heavy, cold, and strange. The air smelled clean here, almost too clean, like a place untouched by war or dirt. 2 alien guards marched him through long, glowing halls made of silver stone. Strange shapes floated in the walls like living lights. Every step echoed, and Ethan's bare feet left faint marks of blood on the shiny floor. He didn't speak. Neither did the guards. When the tall golden doors opened, Ethan saw her again, Princess Lyra. She stood near a wide window, watching the red suns fade behind the alien mountains. Her long silver hair shimmered like liquid light. She didn't turn when he entered. "Leave us," she said softly. The guards bowed and left the room. The doors shut. Now it was only Ethan and the princess, the human and the royal alien, standing in silence. Ethan straightened his back, ready for whatever this was. "If you brought me here to torture me," he said calmly, "get it done." Lyra turned slowly, her golden eyes calm but deep, like a storm behind glass. "Torture you?" she said softly. "No, I want to understand you." Ethan's jaw tightened. "Understand? What's there to understand? You people enjoy killing humans for sport." Lyra took a few steps closer. "Yes," she said quietly. "We do, but you broke the pattern." She stopped just a few feet away, her gaze scanning the cuts on his arms, the bruises on his face. "2 of my father's trained soldiers, both dead, and you? Not even armed." "I fight to live," Ethan said. "That's all." Her head tilted slightly. "No," she said. "You fight like someone who's done it before, who was made to do it." Ethan stayed silent. He didn't want to tell her anything. Lyra circled him slowly like a scientist studying something dangerous. "You are not like the others we captured," she whispered. "Your eyes, they don't show fear, only pain." Ethan looked away. The silence stretched. Then she said something that made him freeze. "I've read about your kind, the ones they called sentinels." Ethan's body stiffened. His eyes flashed for a second like a spark from an old memory. "No one talks about that," he said. Lyra smiled slightly. "So it's true then?" He didn't answer, but she could see the truth written on his face. The princess took a deep breath. "My father believes humans are weak. I believed it too. But when I saw you fight..." She paused, her voice dropping to a whisper. "I felt something I've never felt before." Ethan frowned. "What?" "Fear," she said softly. "And admiration." He stared at her, unsure if she was mocking him. "You're a princess. You don't fear anything. You're wrong," she said. "I fear what I don't understand. And I don't understand you." For a moment they just looked at each other, alien and human, predator and prey, yet neither fit the role anymore. Lyra turned toward the window again. "The Emperor will want you executed by dawn," she said quietly. "But I stopped the games for a reason. I don't want you to die." Ethan laughed dryly. "Why? A new pet for the royal zoo?" Her voice turned sharp. "No, because I saw something in you that shouldn't exist, strength without hate. You fought to survive, not to destroy." Ethan's eyes softened for a brief second. "I fight because no one else will fight for us." The room went silent again. Outside, lightning flashed across the alien sky. Lyra spoke again, softer now. "Tell me what a sentinel is." Ethan hesitated, then sighed. "It's not a what. It's a mistake. A human experiment, half soldier, half weapon. They wanted humans who could fight your kind without fear. Most of us didn't survive." Lyra's voice shook slightly. "And you did." "I did," Ethan said. "But I lost everything else." She turned, staring at him like she could see the memories behind his eyes. "That's why you don't die easily." He gave a bitter smile. "Dying's easy. Living after what I've seen, and that's harder." A distant alarm suddenly blared through the castle halls, sharp and urgent. Red lights flashed across the walls. Lyra's eyes widened. "What's happening?" Ethan asked. She touched her wrist communicator. "Intruders in the upper levels," a voice shouted through the device. "Rebel ships are attacking the palace." Lyra turned to him, panic flickering in her golden eyes. "They're after me. Or worse, after you." Ethan's instincts kicked in. Then we move, now. He looked around for a weapon, but there was nothing. He tore a metal rod from the side of a wall screen and gripped it like a club. Lyra stared, half in disbelief. "You're still willing to fight for me?" Ethan glanced back, his voice firm. "I don't like you. But I don't let people die behind me." The alarms grew louder. Explosions shook the palace. Outside the window, fire filled the red sky. Lyra stepped closer, her voice trembling. "If we live through this," she whispered, "I will never see humans the same way again." Ethan's hand tightened on the rod. "If we live through this," he said, "you won't have to see humans. You'll have to stand with them." She didn't answer. But her eyes, those golden royal eyes, held something new. Respect. Fear. And something she had never felt before. Hope. The palace burned in red light. Sirens howled through the shining halls as shadows moved fast. Rebels, soldiers, smoke, and confusion. Ethan and Princess Lyra ran side by side down the curved glass corridors. Behind them, explosions shook the ground. Shards of glowing crystal fell from the ceiling like rain. Lyra gasped for air, her royal robe torn. "They're inside the palace. My father's guards are losing ground." Ethan kept his pace steady. "Then we don't stop," he said. "We find a safe room. Somewhere they can't reach you." Lyra looked at him, shocked by his tone. No fear, no doubt. "You speak like a soldier," she said. "I was one," Ethan replied quietly, eyes scanning every corner. They turned into a narrow hallway. 2 rebels appeared ahead, carrying plasma rifles. Ethan didn't think, he moved. He grabbed the first rebel's arm, twisted and slammed his head into the wall. The second fired, but Ethan ducked, kicked his leg, and took the weapon. In 2 heartbeats it was over. Lyra stared wide-eyed. How can you fight like that? Humans aren't that fast." Ethan threw the weapon aside. "I told you I was made to fight." "Made?" She repeated, confused. He didn't answer. He just kept walking, scanning the halls again. They reached a circular chamber glowing blue. It was the princess's private research room, walls filled with ancient alien texts and star maps. Lyra touched a panel, and the doors sealed shut. "We're safe here for a moment." Ethan leaned against the wall, breathing heavy. His knuckles were bleeding. Lyra stepped closer. "You said you were made to fight." "What does that mean, human?" He looked up, his eyes distant. "You wouldn't believe me if I told you." "Try me," she said softly. For a long time he was silent. Then he spoke slowly, each word heavy. "I was part of a program on one of your occupied worlds. Humans were dying in the mines in your wars, so our scientists tried something desperate. They created a few of us, half flesh, half machine. Stronger, faster, harder to kill. They called us Sentinels." Lyra froze. The word hit her like a cold wind. "That project was forbidden," she whispered. "Even by our laws. My people destroyed those labs years ago." "Not all of them," Ethan said. "Some of us escaped. Most didn't survive the experiments." "I did." She stepped closer, eyes full of shock. "You mean your body changed?" Ethan said. "My bones reinforced with alien metal. My nerves rewired. My heart can survive in thin air, but it came with a cost." Lyra swallowed hard. "What cost?" Ethan's voice lowered. "Memories. I don't remember my family, my home. Just fragments, laughter, a woman's face, maybe my mother's. Everything else is gone. Replaced by training, orders, and pain." Silence filled the room. The soft blue lights made his face look tired, almost human again. Lyra felt a strange ache in her chest. For the first time, she didn't see a fighter or an enemy. She saw someone broken trying to hold himself together. "You were turned into a weapon," she whispered. Ethan gave a small, sad smile. "Yes, and when the war ended, no one wanted weapons anymore. So they hunted us too." Lyra looked away, her throat tight. "We thought the Sentinels were monsters." "Maybe we were," Ethan said. "But we didn't choose to be." Suddenly the door shook, a loud bang. The rebels had found them. Lyra jumped. "They're here," she whispered. Ethan stood tall, stepping in front of her. His eyes changed, glowing faintly blue now, like hidden fire beneath his skin. "Get behind me," he said calmly. The door burst open with a blast of plasma. Smoke filled the room. 3 rebels rushed in shouting. Ethan moved like lightning, his fist cutting through the air with metallic force. One fell with a broken jaw, another with a crushed arm. The third aimed his blaster, but Ethan threw a table straight into him. It was over in seconds. Lyra stood frozen. "Your eyes," she whispered. "They glow." Ethan turned to her, breathing hard. "It happens when the systems activate." "Systems?" He nodded. "The part of me that isn't human." She took a step closer, staring at him with awe and sadness. "You shouldn't exist, and yet, here you are saving me." Ethan looked down. "I didn't save you. I just did what I was trained to do." Lyra shook her head. "No, you did more. You chose to." For a moment, they just stood there, the human weapon and the alien princess surrounded by silence and smoke. Then Lyra touched a glowing console. "There's a hidden tunnel below this room," she said quickly. "It leads to the lower docks. If we reach them, we can escape." Ethan nodded. "Lead the way." As the floor opened and they climbed down into the darkness, Lyra looked back at him one last time. "You said they called you Sentinel. But who are you now?" Ethan paused, his blue eyes glowing faintly in the shadows. "I don't know," he said quietly. "But maybe. This time I'll find out." The tunnel door closed behind them with a soft click, leaving the burning palace above, and the first spark of something dangerous between them below. The secret tunnel was narrow, dark, and wet. The sound of war echoed above like thunder, explosions, screams, and the deep hum of alien ships firing in the sky. Ethan led the way, his hand brushing along the cold metal wall. Behind him, Princess Lyra followed, clutching a glowing crystal that lit the tunnel with soft light. Her royal robe was torn and dusty, her silver hair tangled, but her eyes still glowed gold, fierce and unbroken. "Keep moving," Ethan said quietly. "They'll search every level." Lyra nodded. "This tunnel leads to the lower docks. We can take a shuttle from there." Ethan glanced back. "You sure?" "Yes," she whispered. "I've used it once before. When I was a child." For a few minutes they moved in silence. The tunnel shook from the distant blasts. Dust fell from above, then Ethan stopped. He heard something, faint footsteps behind them. He raised his hand. "Wait," Lyra froze. Her heart beat fast. "What is it?" Ethan turned, eyes narrowing. "We're not alone." A shadow flickered at the far end of the tunnel. Then came the sound of clinking armor. "Down." Ethan shouted, pushing Lyra aside just as a red plasma bolt hit the wall, exploding in sparks. Rebel soldiers appeared, shouting in alien tongue, firing again and again. Ethan grabbed a broken pipe from the floor and rolled forward. The first soldier fell before he could reload. Ethan's movement was a blur, fast, sharp, brutal. Lyra pressed against the wall, watching in shock. Ethan fought like no creature she'd ever seen. No hesitation, no fear. Every punch felt like thunder. Every step perfectly timed. When the last rebel hit the ground, the tunnel fell silent again. Only Ethan's breathing echoed. Lyra stepped forward slowly. "You're bleeding." He wiped his arm, ignoring the burn mark. "Not the first time," she frowned. "You could have let me run ahead. You didn't have to fight them." Ethan looked at her, his voice calm but heavy. "I don't leave people behind." "Not anymore." Lyra didn't understand. But she saw the sadness behind his eyes, like he was remembering someone he once failed to protect. They continued deeper into the tunnel, until the narrow path opened into a large underground dock. Broken ships lay half buried in smoke and metal debris. Blue sparks danced in the air. The roof trembled with every explosion from above. "There." Lyra pointed toward a small silver shuttle hidden behind a fallen cargo lift. "It still works. We can use it." Ethan ran toward it first, checking the engines. "Power core's damaged, but I can fix it enough to fly." He crouched, pulling off a panel, using broken wires and parts lying nearby. His hands moved fast, practiced. Lyra watched him quietly. "You really were a soldier." He gave a small smile. "Maybe I still am." Just as the shuttle's lights flickered to life, a loud growl echoed from behind. The shadows shifted, and something big stepped into the dock. Lyra gasped. By the stars? It wasn't a rebel. It was a war beast. Half alien, half machine, with burning red eyes and metal claws sharp as blades. The rebels had unleashed one of their monsters to finish the job. Ethan stood up slowly, placing himself between the beast and the princess. "Stay behind me." Lyra's voice trembled. "You can't fight that. It's built to kill armies." He tightened his fists. "Then it's a fair match." The creature roared and charged, smashing through crates. Ethan dodged left, barely missing a claw swipe that tore through metal. He grabbed a broken pipe and swung, hitting the beast's leg. Sparks flew, but it barely slowed. The beast turned, tail whipping like a hammer. It hit Ethan hard, throwing him across the floor. He groaned but got up, coughing blood. Lyra screamed, "Ethan!" He spat red and smiled faintly. Still here, the beast lunged again. This time Ethan rolled under its body, grabbed a glowing power cable and jammed it into the creature's open wound. Electricity surged through it, making it shriek in pain. It stumbled, shaking violently. Ethan climbed onto its back, punching deep into the exposed circuits. "Come on!" he shouted, every hit echoing in the empty dock. Finally, with one last strike, the beast collapsed in a cloud of smoke and sparks. Ethan fell to his knees beside it. Breathing hard, Lyra ran to him, kneeling. "You're hurt. You can't keep fighting like this." He looked up at her, blood on his lips, eyes calm. "I told you. I was made for this." Lyra touched his shoulder gently. "No," she whispered. "You were made for more than fighting. You just don't see it yet." For the first time, Ethan didn't know what to say. Her words hit something deep inside him, something he thought was long gone. He looked at her, the strange light from the burning beast reflecting in his blue eyes. "Maybe you're wrong," he said quietly. "Maybe I'm not," she replied. A loud crash interrupted them. The roof above cracked, and through the falling smoke, dark shapes appeared. Alien guards. Not rebels this time. Lyra's eyes widened. "My father's soldiers. They've found us." Ethan stood ready to fight again, but Lyra grabbed his arm. "No, stop. They're not here to kill you. I sent for them before the palace fell." The guards surrounded them, weapons raised, then bowed to the princess. "Your Highness, we have orders to return you to the Emperor immediately." Ethan looked at her sharply. "The Emperor?" Lyra met his gaze, her voice low. "My father wants to see you." Ethan's jaw tightened. "And if he decides I shouldn't live?" Lyra stepped closer, her eyes full of quiet fire. "Then he'll have to go through me first." The guards hesitated, glancing between them. The princess's tone left no room for argument. Ethan said nothing as they led him toward the shuttle. But deep inside he felt something new. Not just anger, not just survival. Something dangerous, something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. The royal shuttle rose through the smoke, cutting through the burning sky. Below, the palace ruins glowed like dying stars. Ethan sat silently in chains, his arms bruised, his clothes torn. Across from him sat Princess Lyra, her face calm but her eyes hiding a storm. The guards surrounding them didn't speak. The only sound was the hum of the ship. "Your father," Ethan said finally. "He'll want me dead." Lyra's gaze didn't waver. "He already does," she said softly. "But I'll make him listen." Ethan gave a small, bitter smile. "Good luck convincing a king who sees humans as dirt." She looked out the window, her voice low. Maybe it's time someone reminded him that dirt can grow roots and break stone. When the shuttle landed, the doors opened to reveal the throne hall of Xylar, a massive room of black crystal filled with golden light. Hundreds of alien nobles watched from balconies as the guards dragged Ethan inside. At the center sat Emperor Kael Roth, Lyra's father, tall, armored in gold, his eyes burning like fire. His presence made the air feel heavy. Even the guards didn't dare breathe too loud. Lyra walked ahead of the soldiers. "Father, Silence." The Emperor's deep voice cut through the hall. "You brought a human into my throne room after my soldiers died because of him." Lyra stood her ground. "He saved my life." The Emperor rose slowly from his seat. "He killed my warriors." Ethan lifted his head, meeting the Emperor's gaze without fear. "They tried to kill me first." Gasps spread through the crowd. No one ever spoke to the Emperor like that. Kael Roth stepped down from the throne, his golden cape dragging across the shining floor. "You dare speak before me, human filth?" Ethan stayed calm. "If filth can survive your champions, maybe your throne isn't as strong as you think." The hall went silent. The Emperor's eyes flared with anger, but behind it was something else. Curiosity. He had never seen a human like this. Lyra stepped closer to her father. "He is not what you think. He is a sentinel, a living weapon. He could be the key to defending Xylar from the rebels." The Emperor turned sharply. "You would use him?" "This creature." Lyra's voice grew stronger. "He's not just a creature. He's proof that humans can fight and win. Without him, I'd be dead. The Emperor stared at her for a long, tense moment, then laughed with a cold, echoing sound. Then perhaps your survival was the real mistake. He waved his hand and guards lifted their weapons toward Ethan. Enough, the Emperor said. This ends now. Lyra stepped in front of Ethan, her arms outstretched. If you execute him, you execute me too. The hall erupted in shock. Even the guards froze. Ethan blinked, confused. Lyra, what are you doing? Buying you time, she whispered. The Emperor's expression darkened. You would threaten your own bloodline for a human? Lyra met his gaze unshaken. I would protect what saved me. If that's a crime, then call me traitor. Kale Roth's eyes burned brighter. He turned to the crowd. Then let us see if your human is worth the breath you waste on him. He raised his staff high. I declare the trial of honor. The crowd gasped again. Ethan frowned.
What's that?
Lyra whispered quickly. It's a duel. To prove worth or die trying. You'll face his champion. No weapons. No mercy. Ethan gave a small nod. I've done worse. The Emperor smiled coldly. You will fight my chosen champion, the Titan of Xylar. If you win, you walk free. If you lose, your body will hang over the city walls. Ethan's eyes narrowed. Then I'll have to win. Brave words for a man with no blade, the Emperor sneered. Ethan looked down at his hands, the same hands that had broken armor, fought monsters, and shielded a princess. He raised his eyes again, voice steady. I don't need one, the crowd murmured, half in disbelief, half in fear. There was something about his voice. Calm, powerful, alive. Lyra looked at him, worry filling her golden eyes. The Titan isn't a normal warrior. It's something else, something ancient. Ethan smiled faintly. Then let's wake it up. The Emperor turned away. Prepare the arena. At dawn, the trial begins. Guards dragged Ethan out of the hall, but his gaze met Lyra's one last time. For a moment, she saw it. The same fire she'd seen that day in the first arena. But now it was brighter. Stronger. When the doors closed behind him, Lyra faced her father again. You think this will break him, she said quietly. It won't. Kale Roth looked down at her with cold amusement. Then it will break you instead. Lyra didn't reply. She simply turned and walked away, her steps echoing in the golden hall. Her mind was already racing. She had to find a way to help him survive. Because deep down she knew something her father didn't. Ethan Cole wasn't fighting for freedom anymore. He was fighting for her. The twin suns rose slowly over Xylar, painting the sky in red and gold. The great arena, once filled with laughter and cruelty, now waited in silence. Every seat was packed with aliens, nobles, soldiers, and slaves. No one wanted to miss the Emperor's new spectacle, the trial of honor. At the center stood Ethan Cole, barehanded again, dust swirling around his feet. His body carried bruises from every battle he had fought since his capture, yet his eyes remained calm. Across from him stood the Emperor's champion, the Titan of Xylar. It wasn't a warrior. It wasn't even alive in the normal sense. It was a giant, half flesh, half machine, 10 feet tall, wrapped in armor thicker than steel. Its eyes burned red, and its voice was like thunder mixed with metal. This, the Emperor announced from his throne high above, is strength. This is perfection. Let the human prove his worth. The crowd roared. Lyra sat beside her father, her face pale, her hands clenched so tight they trembled. She couldn't look away. Ethan stood alone under the suns, small, human yet somehow unbroken. The Titan stepped forward, shaking the ground with each step. Its shadow swallowed Ethan completely. Ethan whispered under his breath, "All right, big guy. Let's dance." The creature roared and swung its arm, a metal hammer the size of a man. Ethan rolled aside just in time. The hammer slammed into the ground, cracking stone. Dust exploded around them. Ethan got up, breathing fast. His ribs ached, his heart pounded. One hit and he'd be finished. But he had fought worse before. Monsters with teeth, men with hearts colder than ice. He darted forward, punching the Titan's side. His fist struck metal and pain shot up his arm. Bad idea, he muttered. The crowd laughed cruelly. The Emperor smirked. Pathetic. Lyra's eyes burned with anger. She leaned forward and whispered, "Come on, Ethan, don't give up." Down below, Ethan took a deep breath and focused. He remembered his training, the whispers of the scientist who had made him. You are not just human anymore. You are built to adapt. His eyes flickered blue for a moment. He moved faster this time. When the Titan swung again, Ethan slid under its arm, hitting the joints, the soft parts between armor plates. Sparks flew. The Titan staggered. The crowd gasped. The Emperor's smile faded. The Titan growled, extending its claws. It fired a burst of plasma from its chest. Ethan dove behind a broken pillar. The blast hit stone and shattered it into pieces. "Come out, human," the Emperor shouted. "Show us your courage." Ethan rolled out and ran straight toward the Titan. No hesitation, no weapon. The creature raised its arm again, but Ethan leapt, landing on its shoulder. He grabbed a loose cable and ripped it free, jamming it into the Titan's neck. Electric sparks burst out, lighting the arena. The Titan roared in pain, swinging wildly. Ethan held on, punching the creature's head again and again until the metal cracked. "Stay down," Ethan shouted, delivering one last hit. The Titan's red eyes flickered, then went dark. The giant fell, shaking the arena floor. Dust and smoke rose high. When it cleared, Ethan stood in the middle, breathing hard, blood dripping from his knuckles. The dead Titan lying beside him. Silence filled the air. Then, slowly, the crowd began to rise, not in anger, but in awe. The Emperor's eyes burned with disbelief. "Impossible," he whispered. Lyra stood, her heart pounding. "He did it," she breathed. "He won." Ethan looked up at the throne, his voice hoarse but steady. "You wanted strength. There it is." For a long moment, the Emperor said nothing. The entire city seemed to hold its breath. Finally, Kael Roth raised his hand. "Enough," he said. "The human has won his trial." Gasps spread through the audience. Some aliens cheered, others hissed, unable to accept it. Lyra exhaled deeply, tears shining in her eyes. But the Emperor wasn't finished. He stepped down from the throne, his golden armor reflecting the broken sunlight. "You fought with honor," he said slowly. "But tell me, human, what drives you? Fear? Hate? Revenge?" Ethan looked up at him. "None of those," he said. "I fight because someone has to stand against monsters, and even when the monsters wear crowns." A ripple of shock spread through the court. Lyra's breath caught. The Emperor's expression darkened again. "Careful, human. Your tongue might undo your victory." Ethan wiped blood from his lip. "Truth isn't treason." For the first time, Kael Roth had no answer. He turned away, waving his hand sharply. "Take him. He is no longer a prisoner, but he is not free either." The guards hesitated. Lyra stepped down from her seat, rushing to Ethan's side. "You've proven yourself," she whispered. "No one can deny it now." Ethan looked at her, his expression softer than before. "I didn't fight for them," he said quietly. "I fought because of you." Her breath caught, and for a moment the noise of the crowd disappeared. It was just the two of them, the human and the princess, standing between the ruins of hate and the birth of something dangerous and real. Above them, the suns shone brighter, and the people of Xylar whispered among themselves. Some spoke in fear, some in wonder. A human had faced a god-made machine, and won. And in the eyes of the princess, he was no longer a slave, and he was something far greater. The arena was silent after the Titan's fall. Smoke drifted in golden light. The crowd that once screamed for blood now whispered like ghosts. Every alien eye was fixed on the human standing in the center. Bloody, bruised, but unbroken, Ethan Cole. The human who faced monsters barehanded and lived high above. Emperor Kael Roth sat frozen on his throne. His voice, usually deep as thunder, came out low and slow. "He defeated the Titan," he said, almost to himself. "A mortal man." Princess Lyra rose from her seat. The sun's rays touched her silver hair, and for a moment she looked like she carried light itself. Her golden eyes glowed with pride and defiance. She stepped forward to the edge of the balcony and shouted for all to hear. This man fought with no armor, no weapon, no army. He fought for honor, not for conquest. I call that true strength. The crowd began to murmur. Some nodded, others hissed. But they listened. The Emperor stood, his golden armor shining. "He fought well," he said, "but he is still human and still a danger. He cannot live among us." The crowd's whispers turned to silence again. Ethan lifted his head, wiping the blood from his mouth. "You said this was a trial of honor," he called out. "If I fought with honor and won, then your own law says I walk free." Gasps echoed. No one had ever spoken to the Emperor like that. Kael Roth's eyes blazed. "You use my laws against me?" Ethan's voice stayed calm. I use the truth. You can kill me, but everyone here will remember that a human faced your titan and didn't bow. The Emperor's hands clenched. His pride was wounded, but his people had seen everything. He couldn't deny the truth. Then Lyra stepped down the royal stairs. Her footsteps echoed softly in the vast arena. Every eye followed her. She stopped beside Ethan, standing so close he could feel her warmth. "In the laws of Xylar," she said clearly, her voice ringing through the silence, "any warrior who wins the trial of honor may be claimed by a royal witness. As protector, ally, or chosen bond." The Emperor's face darkened. "Lyra, don't you dare." But she turned to face him unafraid. "I dare, Father. Before all who stand here, I claim him." The crowd erupted in chaos, gasps, shouts, disbelief. Ethan stared at her, confused. "Lyra, what are you doing?" She looked at him with calm, steady eyes. "You stood for me when no one else did. You fought for me, not for power. You showed me that honor isn't written in bloodlines. It's earned." Then in a voice soft enough for only him to hear, she added, "And because of that, I won't let them take you from me." The Emperor's voice thundered. "You shame our blood." "No," she said firmly. "I give it meaning." Kael'roth's rage shook the hall. "You would bind our royal line to a human?" Lyra raised her chin. "Yes." Ethan blinked, unsure what to say. He wasn't used to anyone standing for him, especially not a royal. "You'll lose everything," he said quietly. "I already lost my belief in fear," she replied. "That's enough." The Emperor's guards raised their weapons, unsure whose orders to follow. The crowd split, some loyal to the Emperor, others silently moved by the princess's courage. Ethan looked up at the throne and said, "If you call yourself a ruler of honor, then honor your own law." She made her claim. Kael'roth glared at him for a long moment, then slowly sat back down. His face was hard as stone. "Very well," he said finally. "Let the princess face the weight of her choice. The human belongs to her and her alone." He leaned forward, voice sharp as a blade. "But remember this, human. Belonging to her means sharing her enemies too." Ethan gave a faint smile. Wouldn't be the first time. The Emperor turned away, furious but trapped by his own word. The drums of the arena began to fade, replaced by silence. Lyra stepped closer to Ethan, whispering, "You're free now." In the only way that matters, he looked at her, tired, bleeding, but alive. "Free?" he said with a small smile. "You just claimed me." She smiled back faintly. "Then maybe we're both claimed." They stood together in the center of the arena, human and alien, enemies by nature, allies by choice. Around them, the world they knew had changed forever. From that day, whispers spread through Xylar about the human who fought barehanded, and the princess who defied her father to stand beside him. Some called it madness. Some called it rebellion, but others, quietly, secretly, called it hope. That night, as the twin moons rose over the silent city, Ethan stood at the palace balcony beside Lyra. The wind carried the faint sounds of distant unrest and new beginnings. Lyra looked at the stars. "They will come for us," she said softly. Ethan's voice was steady. "Then let them come." She turned to him, her golden eyes reflecting the night. "And if we lose?" He smiled faintly. "Then we go down fighting, together." For the first time Lyra laughed, and a small honest sound. "Together," she repeated. And somewhere deep in the shadows of the Empire, the people whispered the legend that would never die.